What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Nerdy Mark channel. I'm Sid the Nerdy Mark, and this is my review of Extreme Rules. Now, a couple of quick shout-outs that I wanted to give out. I want to give a big shout-out to Tim Farley of Armbar Audio because he was on my Instagram live video along with me, and it was a lot of fun. We had some good times. We were talking about all kinds of stuff. We were talking about some wrestling, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, all that good stuff. It was just fun. It was a good time. Always good to see my good friends out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where this pay-per-view did take place from. Thank you guys so much for that. And of course, my good buddy John Kearns, also from Armbar Audio, was there. So he was also giving me live updates as to what was going on. So thank you, John, and thank you, Tim, for doing what you guys do. Stay awesome, and you guys can check out their channel. I'll leave a link in the description below. They have a great podcast on wrestling. They talk about everything from WWE, New Japan, Impact, Ring of Honor, Indies, you name it, they're talking about it. So go check these guys out, give them some love, tell them the Nerdy Mark sent you. So let's talk about some of the pre-show matches or the kickoff matches. The first match I want to talk about is the match between Andrade Cien Almas and Sin Cara. A really good match, really enjoyed it. Both guys doing, lucha stuff. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it was good. It was a great way to, keep the crowd excited, and I liked it. But the match did end when Almas did hit the knees onto Sin Cara, hit the hammerlock DDT to win the match, and hopefully this means we are getting a little bit of a different feud, a much more high-profile feud for Andrade Cien Almas going forward. The next match on the pre-show was Sanity versus New Day in a tables match, and this was a lot less chaotic than I originally imagined. I thought it was going to be much more brutal, maybe even a little bit bloodier than I expected, but it was, for the most part, it was a pretty tame match, which is kind of surprising to me when you have someone like Sanity. I would expect a little bit more extremity in this match. However, the match did end when we did have Alexander Wolf and Kofi Kingston dangling off the apron, and Eric Young jumping off the top rope, landing on Kofi Kingston, effectively putting him through a table, and Sanity winning. Thank God Sanity won this match. Hopefully this means they're moving on to bigger and better things, possibly with a feud with the Bar or maybe even with the Bludgeon Brothers. So the pay-per-view did start off proper with the B Team versus the Deleters of Worlds for the Raw Tag Team Championships, and it's a pretty short match, as many of them were in this pay-per-view, and I thought it was alright. I didn't really care too much about it. I did like the spot between Bray and Bo Dallas. That was cool to see the Rotunda Bros in the ring, sharing the ring. However, the match did end when Bo Dallas knocks Woken Matt into Bray Wyatt, gets Matt Hardy on the ropes, hits his finisher, his neck breaker thing, to win the match. So the B Team are your new Raw Tag Team Champions. This was a pretty pleasant surprise for me, so I was excited, but decent match. Congratulations, B Team. Let's move on. So Kurt Angle is being interviewed backstage, and he is asked about the status of Brock Lesnar and when his next title defense is going to be. Kurt Angle is visibly upset that Brock Lesnar has not been showing up every week for work, and he has not been defending his title, which is very much the sentiments of the WWE Universe, so good job on you, Kurt Angle, for being a general manager of the people, at least for now. He does mention that Brock Lesnar either shows up on Monday, comes to terms with his next title defense, or he is stripping Brock Lesnar of the Universal title. Next up, we did have Finn Balor taking on Baron Corbin, the Constable of Monday Night Raw, and this was a decent match. It was okay. Kind of felt like something that I would watch on an episode of Raw. Baron Corbin kept on yelling insults about how Finn Balor is a tiny little man. It's Baron Corbin. That's what he does. He humiliates his opponents for one thing or the other because he's the most perfect specimen. The match did end with Baron Corbin trying to go for the end of days onto Finn Balor, but Finn Balor countering it into a small package and winning the match. So this was okay. I didn't care. I'm just glad it got over rather quickly, actually. Up next, we do have Carmella defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against Asuka, with James Ellsworth suspended barely above the ring in a shark cage. This was a fine match. It was alright. James Ellsworth does eventually escape, but not before, of course, throwing down a chain to help Carmella, which of course Asuka thwarts, and throwing down that spray bottle. I'm just going to call it pepper spray for argument's sake, but throwing down that pepper spray for Carmella to use on Asuka, but that doesn't work either. The match does spill to the outside. Carmella is knocked out for a little bit, while James Ellsworth is escaped from the cage, and he's hanging, dangling on the cage. Asuka goes and beats him up because that's who the match is actually against, not against Carmella. She goes to beat up on James Ellsworth. Carmella takes advantage of this, pushes Asuka into the cage, knocking her out, and of course Carmella retaining via shenanigans. Later on, Asuka is visibly angry and just takes out all her frustrations on James Ellsworth, who is pretty much dead at this point. We now had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jeff Hardy for the United States Championship. This match, well, wasn't really a match because before it even started, when the referee wasn't looking, Shinsuke Nakamura hit a low blow onto Jeff Hardy. The bell rung, Kinshasa, 1, 2, 3. Shinsuke Nakamura is your new United States Champion. After this, Randy Orton returned, and he looks like he's going to have a stare down with Shinsuke Nakamura, but he turned around and stamped Jeff Hardy in the balls, or at least whatever was left of them. Is Randy Orton a heel now? I'm not sure. I mean, Randy does this to everybody, so, you know, well, not stamp them in the balls, but just attacks everybody, both good guys and bad guys. It was good seeing Shinsuke winning via dirty deeds, and that's not a rib on Dean Ambrose. I'm just saying he won not so clean, which was pretty cool. I mean, he's a heel, and that makes sense for his character. But Randy Orton being there really made no sense to me. But this Tuesday, we are going to see Nakamura and Jeff Hardy in a rematch for the United States title, so that should be fun. Next up, what was arguably one of my favorite matches, if not my overall favorite match on this card, Kevin Owens versus Braun Strowman in a steel cage match. This was all kinds of fun. I loved it. It was good stuff. Chaos all around. Kevin Owens, of course, trying to hurriedly escape from the cage and away from that monster among men, Braun Strowman. Later on, Kevin Owens gets some handcuffs, cuffs it onto Braun Strowman, tells Braun to suck it. There was even one point where Kevin Owens hit a stunner onto Braun Strowman, and I thought that was cool. And then, of course, he cuffs him, and then he climbs up the cage after doing the suck it. Braun, of course, tears off his restraints, climbs towards Kevin Owens and pushes him off the cage. So basically Kevin Owens did win, but Braun Strowman still looked tall. So kind of, in a way, protecting both people, kind of. Well, more so Braun Strowman than Kevin Owens, because Braun Strowman isn't the one who is dead. Earlier on, we did have the Bludgeon Brothers attack Team Hell No backstage, and this was pretty cool, pretty good to see. Kane got his leg slammed into a door with a hammer. That looked painful. So Daniel Bryan this time goes at it alone against the Bludgeon Brothers, at least for the most part. He does a good job of holding his own. It's Daniel Bryan. He is a very good wrestler. This was good stuff. I liked it. Daniel Bryan does, of course, avoid the Bludgeon Brothers when Rowan goes for a suicide dive. Daniel Bryan gets out of the way, hits Harper, leaving them both kind of out of commission for a little while. Kane comes out with a brace on his leg. Apparently that it was a legitimate injury, so get well soon, Mayor Kane. And it doesn't really help because the match did end when the Bludgeon Brothers hit their double team move, which I forgot what it was called, and to win the match. And they hit it on Bryan and they pinned Daniel Bryan to win the match. So Bludgeon Brothers retain, which is exactly what should have happened anyway, so I'm totally fine with this. We now get a match that was way better than it should have been. Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns. A fantastic bout between these two powerhouses. Really building that tension up between these two. Great stuff. There were a couple of chants going on. We want beach ball, Rusev Day, boring, and there was let's go Roman sucks. Surprisingly, no Bobby's sisters or one particular wrestler's name that is never going to show up in a WWE ring ever again. The match was good. It did end with Bobby Lashley hitting the spear onto Roman Reigns to win the match, and this was good stuff. I loved it all around. Both guys did great. That's all I'm going to say. let's move on. Next up, Alexa Bliss defending her Raw Women's Championship against Nia Jax in an Extreme Rules match. And of course, Ronda Rousey paid her own hard-earned money to buy a ticket to watch some wrestling in the front rows. That is definitely not going to be a factor in this match. This was fun stuff. I liked it. It was not bad. We had a whole spot with Mickie James giving weapons to Alexa Bliss, which Nia then snatches and throws them into the ring. There was like all sorts of stuff in there, like a bunch of chairs, some trash cans. I was expecting a Hattori Hanzo to be in there. This was pretty chaotic, like I said. Oh yeah, and Natalya was on Nia Jax's side at this time. And Nia Jax does her stuff. Alexa Bliss did her thing. Mickie James and Alexa do go after Natalya, which pisses off Ronda. She, of course, predictably jumps the barricade, attacks Alexa Bliss until Mickie James hits her with a kendo stick. Alexa Bliss attacks her with the kendo stick as well, and a steel chair. We go inside, and Nia Jax is wounded, and of course Alexa attacks her with a steel chair, hits the DDT to retain the championship. I felt the ending was a little bit messy. Could have been a lot better. Next up, we did have AJ Styles defending his WWE Championship against Rusev. Happy Rusev Day. Just a great match, actually. Both men just really keeping each other in check, and they have really good chemistry too, Rusev and AJ Styles. The build for this match was really good as well. It was very simple yet effective. I don't have one particular spot that I really want to talk about. I suggest you go watch this match because it was really good. We did have Rusev working AJ's lower back, and of course AJ working Rusev's leg. Rusev tried to go for the accolade, but he couldn't. AJ Styles couldn't go for the Styles Clash because of his lower back, of course. But it did end when Styles did hit a phenomenal forearm onto Rusev to retain. I was just disappointed that Samoa Joe didn't come out and coquina clutch AJ Styles, because I thought that would have looked kind of cool, and that would have been, he could have been his next challenger for the WWE Championship. And we did have the main event, which surprisingly didn't feature Roman Reigns. It was Seth Rollins taking on Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title in a 30-minute Iron Man match. Might I just add, what the hell was up with this crowd? They were counting down every single minute when the clock was going on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the Royal Rumble. And they were making that buzzer sound. What the hell? It's not like a certain wrestler that everybody wants to see come back to the WWE is going to return just because you count down from 10. That was ridiculous. This was a crappy-ass crowd. I didn't like it. Except for John. You're exempt because you're cool, man. Match was alright. It wasn't too bad. Nothing to write home about, which was kind of disappointing because I expected a lot more from these two. Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins get their first 3 pinfalls rather quickly. Well, their first 3 falls rather quickly. Of course, Drew getting it with the assistance of Drew McIntyre. And then we did have, towards the 10th minute, Dolph at 4 and Rollins at 3. And the 4 or 3 minute mark is when Rollins got his 4th fall. So Rollins gets very desperate, and then at the last minute, there's about 10 seconds left, and we have Seth Rollins hitting the curb stomp onto Dolph Ziggler, going for the pin, and the time has run out. So Dolph Ziggler retains, but Kurt Angle interrupts, and he says the match is going into sudden death because nobody wants to see a tiebreaker, especially in his hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The match restarts. Drew McIntyre distracts Rollins, who he knocks off the apron. This allows Dolph Ziggler to hit the zigzag onto Seth Rollins to retain the Intercontinental Championship. So, pretty decent match. It wasn't great, which kind of sucks because there was, like I mentioned, a lot more potential for this match. But it was still good. I still enjoyed it. So overall, I did enjoy this pay-per-view a little bit more than definitely Backlash. But I would say I enjoyed it just as much as Money in the Bank. It could have been a lot better. It was pretty good. And then I felt that it was a bit of an underwhelming main event. So that kind of killed some of the buzz for me. However, there were some matches that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed B-Team versus the Deleters of Worlds, AJ versus Rusev. That was a fantastic match with both guys really going at each other. And Jeff Hardy versus Nakamura, the match, which was still good. Definitely was a little bit more to develop Nakamura's character. And of course, I did like Lashley Reigns. That was a great match as well. A match that was way better than it should have been. I'm going to be reintroducing my rating system into the WWE pay-per-views as well, starting with this one in Extreme Rules. If you don't know what my rating system is, please refer to my Avengers Infinity War review where I explained my rating system. As far as the rating goes, I'm going to have to give Extreme Rules a thumbs up, and because of the main event, a thumbs down. So pretty middle of the road for me. So that concludes my review of Extreme Rules. Let me know what you guys thought about this pay-per-view in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on social media and tell your friends about the Nerdy Mark. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Sid signing off. You guys take care. Bye-bye.